Hi,
Hey Heather, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good.
Did you get Paramount Plus all squared away?
Yes, I did.
Good, because we're going to go into New Trek tonight for the very first time.
Did you say very first time or 31st time? Make sure I hear
Very
you.
first time. I hope I can be heard clearly. I kind of am sitting in an odd position with my mic tonight.
You sound the same to me.
Good. We're going to be watching Children of Mars first, and we're going to talk about it. Then we're going to move into Picard.
Well, I thought Remembrance was the first episode we were gonna watch.
Well, we need the context of the attack that brought on the events of Picard.
And is this a short trek? Let me see. Is this a
It is a short trek.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me look up the short tracks.
I think it's a silent short trek, so you really do have to watch.
Found it. Children of Mars found it.
Okay, yes, but we'll wait a bit for people to arrive.
I know.
Yes, it's interesting. It really shows about how people from all walks of life, when tragedy happens, everyone is suddenly equal.
I could see that.
It's interesting. When somebody when somebody gets sick or something happens or tragedy just befalls an entire nation, there are no social classes, there is nothing but togetherness and unity. But it shouldn't take a tragedy to bring people together.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, well, people do tend to come together in times of tragedy, but the thing is, eventually they start going back to their old behavior.
That's true. That's very sad. Like when COVID first hit, people were suddenly coming together virtually and uniting virtually as they could, but now people are becoming divided and COVID's getting worse again, and so much has been lost, but people have forgotten to care.
That was a long time ago. I mean, people not caring.
Yeah. But it's sad, like COVID's getting worse and people are over it. And it's like, we want our lives back. We don't care who this is hurting. And that's a harsh reality, but it's reality. Yeah.
Well, so how was your day?
It was good. I didn't do very much, but I worked on some fan fiction. It's nice, quiet, relaxing day.
Well, me, I had my state of the ship meeting to run. It runs a little longer than usual, could basically outline what we're gonna my unit is gonna do for the whole year.
Yeah. Yeah, I should really get to writing the calendar for the year, but I've only gotten as far as April.
Well, we're in different positions, so I wouldn't like get too worried about it.
Yeah. It's like seeing where this pandemic is going and, just seeing what I want to put where. I have an idea of where I'd like to put things, but it's just a matter of writing it down. But I do have some good ideas. I just want to give people the opportunity to suggest episodes, people should know they're welcome to.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's painfully obvious what my favorite Star Trek series is.
Actually, it's not. I'm a little more dense than most.
Which uniform am I wearing?
Oh, Deep Space Nine?
There you go.
Well, We can do more of that. We've done quite a bit, but we can do more. But there's always room for more.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also want to include I want to like have a healthy mix of the Treks, and I
Yeah.
also want to include some TO. We're not doing an animated series before you asked because I didn't like it. And
Why, how cheesy it was, or
I just didn't like it. But I will do TOS because it was a beautiful series, and
well, you're wearing their shirt.
Bones is in my mother's line, so we're doing TOS. I'm serious. DeForest is in my mother's genealogy line.
Oh, so I was thinking of Shore Leave for a second when Dr. McCoy is getting chased by the Easter Bunny.
I mean, if you want shore leave, shoot me a line to remember so I can remember, and I'll put it in there somewhere. Maybe we can do an Easter episode. Oh, there's Jake. Because I remember things better if they're written down.
Okay. Yeah, hold on a second.
Hi, Jake. Welcome.
Hello. How
Are you excited for our journey into newer Trek tonight?
Sure. Yeah. So I totally missed last week.
That's okay.
I forgot about it, and then I was stuck at work, so
You're not apologizing. No. Not allowed. Everything comes up. This is like not allowed to be guilty. Not allowed to feel guilty, not allowed to apologize. No. Yeah, we were just discussing how I'd like to see like a balance of Trek throughout the year. So we're gonna try and do like everything but the animated series because I hate the animated series. But
Okay, sent.
awesome, thank you. I'll look at it when we're watching. And we've got even a couple of movies on the schedule as well. A couple of the old
But
movies.
besides Voyage Home,
Yeah, I put First Contact in for the first week of April.
and again, look what I'm wearing.
I'm not as fortunate. I just have these.
Yes, I know your Captain Kirk and your Dr. McCoy outfits.
Yeah.
Still fitting that one, the McCoy.
I do have the McCoy one, but the gold one's more appropriate given my role here. But yeah, Jake, I was also telling Anthony that I found actually DeForest Kelley in my ancestry on my mom's side.
Yeah, I think I was reading that on your Facebook. You posted that a few days ago. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and Gene Roddenberry's in there as well.
Huh.
Oh, and Ethan Peck. The new Spock.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And yes, that's one thing I'm looking forward to. This like March, was it? When Star Trek Strange New Worlds comes out.
I'm looking forward to that because I really want to see Pike out of that chair. I liked it when Pike was here. I was also a fan of Lorca, so we might squeeze in a Lorca episode just because, and I know I'm weird for liking Lorca, save it. I'm just like Jason Isaacs. I'm a heavy Lucius Malfoy fan.
Okay.
But I'm weird, Anthony, and you already knew that about me.
And
I'm not apologizing. Anyway, so what is everybody's thoughts on the short treks? And yeah, we'll start with the short treks because we're going to watch it in a minute here. Have either of you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it. Actually, I saw that like because I think they showed that like I think a month before Picard season 1 came on, I think. So I had actually seen it like right when it was released. So I was like, that's interesting. So it's an interesting little short. So a lot of things in there relevant to bullying and things.
Oh, and Jake, off topic. Your background, is that the Voyager bridge?
Yeah.
Thought so.
I love that.
Yeah. So I know I was trying to like have like theme background. So if we're watching like a Next Gen episode, I'd have like something from Next Gen or some, but it never really quite worked out. I haven't sat down and found all the backgrounds that I need to do that. So
I love that. Keep that for next week because we are watching the Voyager pilot next week.
cool.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting that the children of Mars, I believe it's all silent,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows the different walks of life given by the two main characters, and then they go to a common school, they're classmates, and they fight over their walks of life, and then all of a sudden, when they're about to have to face their differences, boom, they come face to face with a common tragedy in which they probably lose both their parents. Because each of their parents worked at the disaster site, the site of disaster, and because we see them both in the morning talking to their parents, if I remember the episode correctly, and one's mad at their parents and the other is shown lovingly communicating with their parents. Correct?
Haven't seen short treks in 2 years. Let me see, 2019, 20, about 2.5 years.
Well, then maybe I should just stop setting the scene and maybe we should go watch it.
Anybody else coming here? I mean, that's old enough to vote.
I don't know, but I did set rules for that given last week. So if anybody else shows up, well, they'll be behind, and that's not really for us to worry about because we're here and we've got enough for a discussion. So let's just get started.
All
Because
right.
I don't want to set the scene anymore, given that you haven't seen it.
Okay. So, showtime.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
So are we
All
watching
right.
this right here? And
We're
then
watching
go-
Children of Mars first, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay,
Okay.
mute my mic.
All right, see you in a little bit.
Okie dokie.
What did everybody think of that? I'm assuming more than just me was crying. And I apologize for my inaccuracy. There was some talking and some music. It wasn't completely silent.
So, it was mainly just talking at the beginning. They didn't really, so it was just like the girls introducing themselves and a little conversation with their parents. And you're right about the rest of it. Most of it was, yeah, they had the song in the background, but much of it is show not tell.
Yeah. And I don't know. For me, the first half of that was okay. Me, I think I dealt with like a bully when you were younger in school, and then they pick on you, and then you try to fight back. Then you're the one that gets in trouble. Yeah, but then in the end, they tied it into the whole attack on Mars thing. And they end up putting their like little petty schoolgirl squabble to the side.
Right.
To, like you said earlier, mourn together.
Well, what I got from that is that social classes still very much existed within the Federation, and that the two girls had parents that worked on the side of the attack, and these two different girls lived in two different environments and had two different family lives, and one thought they were better than the other, and each had their own way of dealing with everything that was going on in their personal environment. And then when push came to shove, when that Mars attack happened, they forgot everything except for the fact that they both suffered their loss, because you see the little flashbacks of them speaking to their parents for what would probably be the last time. And they're like, oh God, we just lost our parents. What happened? And all these children rushing into the main area, and this Vulcan headmaster thinking, what happened? I'm not supposed to feel emotions, but I'm sure feeling them now.
No, Vulcans do feel emotions. They just don't show it or let them rule them. So that's.
Mm-hmm. What did you get out of watching that? I'd like to know.
So I got a couple of things. So I didn't. So one of the things that I noticed about the, like, at least the human girl, was that even like prior to the fighting and stuff, that she was unhappy. She was also the one that didn't seem to have like a great conversation with her parents. She was not happy about I assume that the parent was going to come home perhaps for a holiday or something and wasn't able to. So she was unhappy about that. And then the next thing, and then like a few minutes later, or when she was she took that unhappiness out on the other girl. So that's kind of what that's one of the things that I gathered from. So, and I didn't see that the first couple times I saw that. I caught that just now.
Yeah, well, the Mars attacks took place on first contact date 2385. And first contact day is a holiday. Like, not a school holiday, obviously, because there were children in school, but it's an important holiday in the Federation, and obviously families probably celebrate it together. Most families got days off, but obviously these two families didn't get the days off. They were important personnel. So and I think the human girl resented that her father was so important that he couldn't come to his family. Like, he supposedly didn't prioritize his family enough to come be with them, but he saw the Federation as more important.
I guess you can feel that, right? Basically, it's like how you say, the last time you get to see him alive.
And I'm sure growing up, she resented the Federation for letting her father die, blaming the Federation for the fact that her father died because he had to work on the day of the attack when he could have been home. If I'm off base, you can tell me. Or are we all somber because of the nature of the episode?
Mm.
So yeah, it's a sad episode.
It is.
I I know. I one of the things I think I've seen this like 3, 4 times. I think. So I know I really enjoyed the ending every time I see it, just because it was like they both were grieving the loss of their parents, and they found a way to um, connect, even though that they spent most of the episode hating each other.
And it's like it's the chaos and the aftermath of the terrorist attack on Mars that leads to the events of Picard. And this is why I cannot remember who suggested that I put these two episodes together.
Mm.
Was it you? Was it you, Jake? I can't remember.
It was actually me, actually.
I'm
I mean,
sorry. Just, I can't remember everything that goes on.
okay. So it just, I don't know, it just leads so naturally into like,
Yeah.
Because it gives you that background of what happened with Mars and things.
Yeah. And then, it leads into the events of Picard, because what exactly happens, I do remember, because I wrote blogs on all these Picard season 1 episodes, and I may continue for season 2 just because of the previews I've seen. I'm hungry for it.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
We get them on CTV Sci-Fi, and oh my goodness, the latest preview. Oh goodness. The latest preview just makes me excited.
So yeah, that was fun, and you get to see somebody too.
Yes, you get to see a very special somebody. I'm not going to say who. We're not going to say who because yeah, but it leads to a rescue mission. Like the whole events at Mars leads to a rescue mission that was planned being aborted, and Romulus being destroyed. Lots of treaties going insane, like the Federation retreating. Because what was supposed to happen, if I do recall, like Starfleet had planned a rescue armada, and Picard leading the rescue armada to rescue Romulans before the supernova came and destroyed it. Interesting to tie in the J.J. Abrams. Interesting way to tie in the J.J. Abrams universe to canon. Oh, there's the kitty. Anyway,
I was wondering why I heard a cat.
Yeah, I love the cat too. But
What
interesting.
trying to be like Book from Discovery?
What?
No, Jake he has this cat here, kind of like Grunge, Book's cat from Star Trek Discovery.
Yes, a little bit.
Or if that's a little too weird for you, how about Spot? Star Trek: The Next Generation.
She definitely has like that grunge look to her. So I know grunge is a Maine Coon. I know her previous owners thinks that baby has like is part Maine Coon, so that's why she has that look to her. So
That's awesome. That's so awesome. I wish that reminds me of Picard's pet, number 1. Why did Picard leave the dog at home? That's so mean.
Well, he should bring the dog with him, like Archer.
Yeah, why not? Like, he could have made room for the dog. Like, what happened that Picard, like all these captains didn't, why didn't Janeway bring her dog, for crying out loud? That's just so rude to the dog. It's not like it would have harmed the dog.
Well, why didn't those guys have their kids on Utopia Planitia?
Well, as we would have seen, it would have killed the kids.
Well, I mean,
So you think
perhaps-
I'm just thinking maybe Picard know that he doesn't want to bring the dog because he's worried that he might not come back. So at least the
Well,
dog can just sit there in the vineyard.
so well, I know with Archer and the Beagle and stuff that their mission was exploration. I know in Picard season 1, they left knowing that they're going to be going up against Tal Shiar. So Picard may not have wanted to bring his dog just because he knew that
yeah,
the danger. So
yeah. Well, Picard knew that he had the disease that he inherited from his mother, and that's actually Irumodic syndrome that he inherited from his mother. That's what she died from, and he went knowing that he was dying from this disease. His Romulan caretakers, which I find interesting that he had Romulan caretakers that were somehow liberated from. I haven't read the comic books or the novels or whatever. You can fill in the gaps if you want, but that his Romulan caretakers didn't want him to go, but he wanted to after seeing Dodge blown to bits on the grounds of Starfleet Academy. How is this even right? That somebody is blown to bits on the grounds of Starfleet and nobody gives a crap about it happening.
I have thoughts, but I don't want to spoil. I don't want to.
Yeah, like
But
it's interesting that the events of the Mars attack resulted in this rescue armada to Romulus being canceled instead of Starfleet rebuilding. Starfleet chose cowardice, and they chose to retreat and look after themselves instead of upholding Federation values. And they chose to give into pressure from other worlds, which is very unlike the Starfleet that Cisco knew. And they decided to abandon the Romulans. Many Romulans died, and Picard threatened to resign like a little child. I didn't agree with what he did. He's like, I'm gonna just quit and run away if you can't uphold the promises you made. And they're like, oh, fine, go. Like, we don't want your little temper tantrum to hinder whatever we're trying to do. And they accepted his resignation. Picard made an impulsive decision, didn't think about who it would affect. He didn't seem to think or care that it would affect people, and hence we have Remembrance. Because you have to remember that Raffi was probably in there only because Picard was there. Like, she got discharged because Picard quit, and that caused a rift. Am I right in my thinking?
Oh, sorry.
no, I think you're absolutely right. So, so I know I really liked Rappy. So that, especially like Starfleet Rappy. I mean, cynical bitter Rappy is one too, but just because it's just such an interesting contrast, because when you watch her in like the flashbacks, she's like optimistic and gung-ho and everything, and then she's quite a different person in the current time. So it was
Right.
she's a fun character. I enjoy her.
Well, we totally need to explore more of these Picard episodes so we can get to know the characters, but we will figure out how to do that.
Like the demon said to the priest, in time.
What?
Oh, you didn't get it. That was an Exorcist reference.
What is that, a rated R movie? I've only seen a few rated R movies, and that's not one of them.
Well, it depends on your tolerance for creepiness. But yeah, we're all right. We'll talk about watching Picard.
Yeah, anyway, I just, this is Picard's character. I don't know if either of you have ever read his biography.
No, I do recall meeting Patrick Stewart the other year.
Oh, I'm jealous. I wish I could.
And no, Heather, I'm not going to go fish out my autograph. I have a whole manila folder this thick of autographs.
Oh, if you don't stop talking about it, I'm going to beg.
Oh, she's going to fly all the way out here to New York. Wow.
Well, I shouldn't I?
See, look, you see this, right, Jake?
Mhm.
I'm triple vaccinated, buddy. I got my booster 2 weeks ago. Anyway, this is very much Picard's character threatening to quit and retreat from difficult situations and difficult people. And it talks about this in the biography. When his mother was ill, when his father and brother were being difficult, he chose to go into space and work in Starfleet instead of facing the difficulties. And then it became too late to deal with them, and he was left with regret. When he had difficult relationships, like with women, he chose to run into space. And when he had difficulties with his brother, he didn't stop and take a hiatus, and he just kept going into space, and he lost so much time with his brother.
Kind of ties into Star Trek 7 for a little bit.
Yeah. And it's like, Kirk and Picard are very similar in that way. They can't deal with difficulties. They just go off into space and don't take the time to nurture relationships. They just ignore things until it's too late. I don't know. That's what I think. But that's not how you live. That's not emotionally healthy. You have to nurture relationships. You have to face difficulties. You have to be an adult about it. And even if it's painful, you have to really find the courage to face difficult relationships or difficult people. Even if they don't respond to your nurturing, at least you tried. Because that shows you as a person are willing to try and attempt to grow. And even if they don't respond to your attempts, at least you yourself have grown by trying. But that's my analysis. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess, it's been a while since I saw the pilot episode. About 2 years.
And what about you, Jake?
Well, I don't know if Picard hadn't run, then we wouldn't have Next Generation. So I I can't fault Picard for.
Well, that's true, but there's just so much more he could have done. And like, I don't know, it took a while, according to what I've watched, like this on the center seat, it took a while for Next Generation to find its footing in the television world.
Mhm.
But it's like there's so much that could have been done with Picard as a character that wasn't due to the writing. But really, Picard as a character was very, very flawed, and we see these flaws come to light in Picard. And age really has nothing to do with this, because you're never too old to learn and become better. So.
Okay.
But I think we're itching to watch the episode, aren't we?
Me, the cat. I don't know about you. I don't know about you.
Do you want to watch the episode, Jake?
Yeah. Yeah, I need to get it. I need to get it queued up so that way I don't.
Okay, well, I will release everybody to watch the episode.
Remembrance, right?
Remembrance.
Pilot episode. Alrighty.
And warning, if you're sensitive to swearing, there's at least one F word that I can think of, but I don't
Yeah.
think we're sensitive.
Well, I don't know. For me, before we go on real quick, I think that's a funny thing that the Star Trek shows have done in the beginning of Paramount Plus. They figure we're a streaming channel, we can do whatever we want now.
Oh, well.
But we watch like subsequent episodes, like this. I was looking at Discovery earlier today. While after between my meeting and this meeting, now they kind of toned down the cursing in this Discovery. But yeah, anyway.
Anyway, I'll see you when it's over. What did I say about apologies?
Yeah, hold on a second.
All right, see you after it's over.
Okay.
So what did everybody think of Remembrance? I personally thought it was delicious. It was as delicious. I remember watching it live on CTV Sci-Fi.
I don't know. I'd use a food metaphor, but I would say it's a different flavor.
Speaking of food, I'm sorry. I was eating.
And, oh my God! I just noticed Jake looks like the Romulan guy from near the end of the
He
episode.
does. He looks like Narek. Oh my goodness. Ah.
Oh my God. Okay. Bye. Bye.
Jake, come back.
We're kidding, Jake. We're kidding.
So, was it enjoyable? That's the first question.
Well, me having to redevelop an attention span.
I mean, it was a different type of Star Trek. I mean, it wasn't fluff like a lot of Star Trek, and it featured the Enterprise D in a dream. It featured a slightly more rounded Data. We can say more rounded. And,
Yeah.
it featured the classic poker game on the Enterprise D. I mean, what is the Enterprise D without a poker game?
Yeah, and just thinking about that, the dream sequences, between Data and the First Contact uniform,
Yes.
and then they're doing the TNG thing, and yeah, interesting that Data is sort of a guide, if you will, trying to orient Jean-Luc in the right direction.
Yes, and then they arrive at Mars, and Picard's like, what are we doing here?
Oh my God, it's kind of like the Emissary, I just realized. Remember how he kept going back, how Cisco kept going back to that moment in time?
Yes, because he existed there, and Picard's mind existed with the terrorist attack.
Yeah.
Because he let his life in Starfleet stop because of that day, and because of the fallout of that day, and because of everybody's response to that day.
Yeah, remember what he told his caretakers? He says he's no longer living, he's just stalling until he dies.
He's waiting to die, and he resigned from Starfleet because of that. He said to the reporter, Starfleet stopped being Starfleet because of their response to that attack. It's true, though. Very true. Starfleet stopped being Starfleet. They forgot to care and stopped looking outward to the universe. They stopped being the Federation. They stopped being the peacekeepers of the universe and started keeping it themselves.
Yeah, I know. Kind of when you go through an ordeal, you tend to withdraw.
That's true. That's very true. And it's not a bad thing, but you can't stay withdrawn forever. You truly can't stay withdrawn forever. You can't forget to live just because something happens. You can't forget yourself. You can't forget to live. You can't stop growing and learning just because something happens. And I'm going to address this more next week, an essay that comes next week. But just because something happens doesn't mean life stops. But Starfleet didn't see that, and Picard didn't see that. He's wasted some of the best years of what could have been his career just on a vineyard. I don't even know if he sold any wine. What did he do all those years on that vineyard?
Well, remember they did talk about it a little bit in All Good Things.
So, so making wine is probably also, I know they're talking about his history writing, so he's probably writing on history too.
That's true. I mean, history writing is very good, but it's also important to live. I mean, you don't get much done by just sitting and writing. It's also important to live when you're capable of living, right?
Mm.
I don't know. But, you know, Picard woke up from the dream and he was in his family vineyard, which I assume became his when Robert and Renee died. If anybody's seen Generations, if they haven't, sorry, spoiler. But, you know, and then we move to a scene that we don't know, Greater Boston.
Yeah, and talk how they're running from the whole, what am I trying to say? No, it's not just Picard running, like society is running away from mechanical life forms because of that attack.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like the lady said, they haven't been able to, as far as they could tell, haven't been able to duplicate data.
Yeah, and
Even
synthetic
though
life
they're
forms
trying to
are
imply
banned.
somebody did.
Synthetic life forms are banned since the attack.
Mm-hmm.
Like bigotry in that regard was at an all-time high, and it was very sad. They just decided to place a blame. They didn't really look into why the synths attacked, what they're programming. Like synths were programmed to do the attack, but by who? They didn't care about who. They just decided to blame the synths and call it a day.
Well, that's how it is, Heather. No, you look for the most dangerous enemy you can find. People seem to have a tendency to do that.
Well, it's unfortunate. People don't, when something bad happens, did people ever stop to think why people are the way they are? What factors contributed to why people struggle so much?
No, people don't think about that. They want simple answers. Okay, me good, they bad.
I mean, if people stopped and remembered to care about maybe why somebody is struggling so much, maybe people could get along better.
That would be nice.
Yeah, and it's like, but we don't take the time to care about that. If somebody's being a problem, they just consider them dangerous or monstrous and they send them away, lock them up, cast themselves away from the problem and move on with their lives as if there is no reason to care. Or they freeze them out until the problem goes away on its own. And that's society for you. They claim to be so evolved and so accepting, and yet no better than animals.
Mm-hmm.
And Starfleet, as evolved as it claims to be, they're no better than animals. When this attack happened, and I'm not downplaying the seriousness of the attack, it was an awful attack and many lives were lost, many ships were lost. They found it easier to leave the Romulans be. Sorry. The Starfleet, in the face of the attack, found it easier to break their word to the Romulans, say let them die, as Kirk did when it came to the Klingons and the discovered country, forget compassion and look inside themselves and forget the word they had given.
Yep.
And Picard wasn't happy about that. Picard wanted Starfleet to remember who they were and what they stood for, but Starfleet didn't want to remember that. They wanted to protect themselves from more pain.
Yes. And also, I'm reminded of something. Remember the DS9 episode? Let me explain. The DS9 episode, Siege of AR-588.
Yes.
So Quark is there in the battlefield with Nog. And he's like, oh, humans, they're such nice people.
As long as their bellies are full.
Sonic showers and their food, but take away their food, take away their sleep, put them in hell, put them in bad situation for a few hours, and they're just as mean as any Klingon. Well, Starfleet going through a bad situation with the Mars attack. They turned mean.
As long as people are comfortable and with people they can easily understand, or situations they can easily understand, they're great. But give them people that they can't easily understand or difficult situations and they get upset. Like, I think of Julian, like if he were exposed as a child as having a severe disability, do you think Federation would have taken kindly to that? They would have said, oh my God, we have a little monster in our midst. We should put this one in a group home and just be done with it, because we can't have imperfections in what's supposed to be a perfect Federation, right?
Yeah. And when the parents did something about it, they put the father in jail.
Well, that was after, but like I'm talking about when Julian was still Jules and disabled. Like I'm just talking like if they hadn't done anything, if Jules had continued on as Jules, I'm sure the Federation would eventually intervene, and not for Julian's benefit. But anyway, yesterday.
I was responding to Anthony. He went to jail because he did actually commit a crime. So
yeah, we talked about this last week, actually. Anthony, do you remember the discussion?
Yeah.
Like, I personally wouldn't cure my disability, and somebody on there wouldn't cure theirs or their child's, but I'm sure not all parents feel the same way that we do. Because some really ache, some really suffer the unfair circumstances they have or their child has. And it's like the Federation is not as good and as equal and as charitable and as loving as they portray themselves to be. They have some very real problems. And as we see, and I'm going to spoil and people can get over it, as we see by the time of Discovery, when they go to the future, the Federation's self-righteousness has made it crumble upon itself.
Yeah, that was kind of like season 3, the whole of season 3, the quest for the Federation.
So obviously they didn't learn anything. And that's the saddest thing in the world. I mean, these Mars attacks set them on a course and they didn't learn anything. And I don't know what we're going to see in Picard season 3 or season 2 or season 3, but I'm just sad that despite these attacks, Starfleet or the Federation didn't learn anything.
Oh, I just thought of something. Also keep in mind, it's not just the world of Picard, it's the people who create that world, the writers who came up with these stories.
Yeah.
What they're trying to convey.
Yeah, this is like, I know Gene Roddenberry wanted a utopia vision, but let's be real, that's not realistic because a utopia vision is not something that's realistic because even in a utopia world, there are going to be people and ideas that aren't going to agree with one another. And there are going to be people that are always going to think they're better or worse than each other. And there's going to be conflict. What we do, though, with the people that don't agree with each other and the conflict, that can either help us grow together as people or break us apart as people.
So here's kind of my thoughts. I don't know, fiction doesn't necessarily need to be realistic. Because I mean, realistic sci-fi, if our sci-fi was realistic, it would all look like The Expanse. We don't, I like Star Trek. I like the world of Star Trek. And seeing that utopian vision, it's something to aspire to. It's ideals to live up to. It's ideals to work towards. I mean, and it's the same thing with like superheroes. People complain when they're too perfect, but the point of perfect superheroes is that they, I mean, originally comics were aimed at kids. It was to give kids something to live up to, like doing the right thing, that kind of thing. So that is kind of my view of Star Trek. Yes, it is somewhat utopian. And I don't mind that it's not always realistic because seeing that it gives us a better way of viewing ourselves and how we have to grow as both people and society. So that's my piece.
Oh, I agree. And it also shows the consequences of not being willing to grow. I agree.
Mhm.
And it's like, it also makes me wonder, are we doomed to the different fates that we see of on the screen? If we're not willing to grow, are we doomed to those fates as well?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's sad. But I do have a question, and this is making me very intrigued as I've watched this again. Where in the heck do you think Bruce Maddox got the piece of data he needed to create? Gosh, Soji, I am at a loss.
Well, consider how long he's known Data. Remember season 2, TNG, Measure of a Man.
Yeah, but like, I don't think like Data had to go on trial to defend his rights. Did Bruce just kind of sneak a piece when Data wasn't looking, or do you think Data and he had some sort of off-screen meeting? Or
Well, it's been said that Data and Maddox still spoke with each other from time to time. Even though Maddox didn't get his initial wish of mass producing Data.
But it's like, I don't recall Data ever giving any pieces of himself, or did Maddox just kind of rip off
But
something?
he had the schematics.
Yeah, but
So-
a neural thing is what was needed to create all those things, because later on you see all those androids, right? In the end of the season, and they look scarily like Data, some of them.
So I have a couple thoughts. So like, I know during the episode, Data even said that he'd be willing to offer himself up to Maddox if I mean, part of the reason why Data didn't want to consent to the procedure was because he didn't feel that Maddox had done the appropriate research, had the appropriate knowledge or skill to be able to do that. And he said that in the future, when Maddox is ready, he would consent to it. And as Anthony was saying, later on, we find out that Maddox and that Data and Maddox had kept the correspondence going over the series. I think there was like an episode where I think it was Data's Day. I'm not sure, but he kept like a log entry throughout the whole
Yes.
episode. like, and it was addressed to Maddox. It was like, okay, this is what my day looks like, so they kept up a dialogue over that time.
Told you.
Yes.
So it
Yes.
could have been, so there could have been like, he might have like permitted Maddox to like a little bit, or maybe they found some piece of data from the destruction or from his death in Nemesis. So
See, I told you how that Data and Maddox had a correspondence, like Jake said.
Yes, and speaking of Data's Day, that is part of Diversity Month, and that will be that's the Valentine's Day episode, the double feature that we'll be having on the Valentine's Day week.
Double feature.
Oh, yes. It's on the schedule.
Oh boy.
What? It will be fun. It's a wedding episode, remember?
Yes.
It's very nice. Anyway, yes. It's interesting but why would he send like one twin to Earth? Like, why would he send those twins to Earth? And it just is very intriguing. I don't feel like we ever got the whole story on that one.
Well, of course not. Spoiler. Check out season 1, episode 5 of Picard. You'll find some of the answers you're looking for in regards to Maddox.
Interesting. And Picard is very interesting. He feels like he failed Dodge, and then he suddenly gets obsessed with going to help find Soji, and goes and spends a great deal of his time and his energy rediscovering himself and his passion that he lost after the Mars attacks. And
Yeah.
especially after this disastrous interview. I don't know why that Starfleet even made him do this interview. And
Well, what the news interview?
yes, where he
I don't think that was
basically
Starfleet. That was like CNN wanted to interview Picard.
it's like basically he bashes Starfleet after they set him up to do this interview. It's like, really? But having been in the reporting business and doing articles and such since I was 17 years old, I can understand how some people might not like the media. I'm not a typical journalist in how I approach people. And people have told me how I'm not a typical journalist because I'm a lot nicer than typical journalists in how I approach people. And that usually helps people to want to talk to me more and tell me things they might not tell typical journalists.
So hey, have you had a Picard moment?
No, because I don't press people as aggressively as most typical journalists do. I explain to them, yes, I would love information, but you should only tell me what you feel comfortable telling me. And if you don't feel comfortable telling me something, you can just say so and I'll understand. And that's not the communication a typical journalist would give, but I say it because I'd rather a person be comfortable than get a good story. And I also don't sensationalize anything. I tell the story how it is. I don't give a bias because that's not honest.
Yeah.
But that's probably why I never got anything further than freelancing since I was 17. But that's how I choose to conduct myself in that line of work. Anyway, yes, this reporter was, I don't know, a bit aggressive and asking slightly inappropriate questions. I don't think Picard was prepared for them by judging how upset he got. And
remember, they told him they won't ask him about why he left Starfleet. And then they ask him, why did you leave Starfleet?
And then Picard got rightly pissed and ended the interview after giving a very angry answer. It's not the Starfleet. He knew or remembered. And it was very sad. But that's a good thing that they had that interview, because that's how Dash found Picard. And so that's yeah.
How long have you been sitting cross-legged?
Oh, 2 hours. No, it's fine. I've got long legs. I'm fine. But
Anyway, back to the discussion.
it's more comfortable than a chair. Anyway. And then they meet. Yes, Jake.
So and I say cross-legged too, is because partly because I don't have a good desk or table to sit at. So.
And I reckon you're looking at this thing in a laptop computer or notebook or whatever you call it now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's on a laptop.
I used to sit on a chair, but I didn't like the chair. It was very uncomfortable.
Well, it depends on the chair.
Well, no, here's the thing. I don't know if you read my recent article, but I don't physically like sitting on hard chairs all the time. It's very uncomfortable on my body, on a part of my body that already has to deal with a lot. So
Yes.
yes. So
Yes, a nice cushiony chair.
actually, I'm sitting on my bed right now, and it's nice and comfortable.
Hmm.
Anyway.
Yes.
So the whole concept of the Romulans being not only Picard's caretakers, but also being allowed to run free on Starfleet properties. Did nobody notice that they were running around blowing up synths and everything? Did nobody care? How are they allowed to do this?
I don't know. I feel there's a whole lot of craziness with the Romulans in this show. Remember how the girl, she's getting chased down by the Tal Shiar remnants.
And not just any Tal Shiar, Shotwash. Spoilers.
It's all right. We'll eventually squeeze the rest of the season, and I just don't know when yet. Throw your suggestions in my PMs if you want to see more episodes. Picard, by the way. That goes for all the members, not just the ones in attendance tonight.
I gotta look at the next 5 episodes of season 1 before season 2 starts. Because the thing with serialized shows, you have to watch the previous week's episode to understand what's going on this week.
Well, we're not pacing ourselves with that crazy schedule they got. That's an amazing schedule, but we're not pacing ourselves according to that.
True.
We're not competing with the fandom. We're doing what we feel comfortable with. And that's just great. I mean, we'll eventually squeeze a Lower Decks in there somewhere. I don't know where, but
Or when.
yeah. Anyway, does anybody have any thoughts we haven't covered yet?
I had half a comment on Narek, but since I was told that I look like him, I think I'll just let the comment go, because I'm like, ew.
What is it?
think I
No,
look like that guy.
I didn't make the comment. I did not make any comments on anything like Narek, but I'm intrigued. What is your comment on Narek? Let's discuss Narek.
Just because it's like, I mean, a spoiler, it wasn't really from this episode. It just kind of, it popped in my head when I was watching it tonight. So if we ever watch that episode, then we can discuss it then.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I just told you that you can suggest episodes. So if you want to suggest one, send it to me in PMs. Otherwise, I'll forget. Don't verbally suggest them because I'll forget.
Okay.
Because my memory is garbage unless it's written down. Anyway, so
All right.
you know what? Picard is a very complicated individual. He actually has a safe in the Starfleet archives with all his captain stuff. Who has that? It's so strange.
Well, so I don't. After all of his adventures, he a lot. I mean, because his mission itself was historic, so they want to preserve that historic or the historic stuff, I guess, from his mission, I guess.
Yeah, they had all three of his ships.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, he wasn't a perfect captain, and I would highly encourage you to read the Autobiography of Jean-Luc Picard to see his flaws and to see how interesting of a captain he was. But he was a captain and he did his duty, and it's a very intriguing thing. But you know, he had a lot to learn even still. Even when he was done being a captain, he had a lot to learn.
Well, I don't have a final thought for tonight.
Oh, are we tired?
It's 22:09 here.
Well, you know, it's interesting. It's very interesting. The fact that I do have a final thought. The fact that the Romulan reclamation site is in a Borg cube. Isn't that intriguing?
Oh, sorry. I thought, did you say it's that intriguing or it isn't that intriguing?
Isn't that intriguing that the Romulan reclamation site is in a Borg cube?
Oh yeah, that thing. Basically, like using the Borg cube like a refugee center after all the Borg got destroyed in Star Trek Voyager.
That's true. I mean, that's very intriguing indeed. That
I don't know. I think I have to rewatch the first half of Picard to figure that out again.
You know, if you want to see more Picard, you know what to do. But we've had a lovely time here, haven't we?
All righty.
Do you have any other points you want to discuss before I dismiss you into the universe?
Jake.
No, I'm good.
I think you scared him when you said he looks like Narek.
Oh, because America is just such a easy little douchebag.
Sorry.
No, Anthony, it was absolutely a beautiful thing to lighten the sad mood after Children of Mars. It's hilarious. We love you for it. I don't know what we would do without you in our group, Anthony. Take the compliment.
Okay. I'll buy that for $1.
What?
Oh my God.
This has been fun. I hope we discussed everything you all wanted to discuss. Yes, like, you know, Picard isn't typical Trek, but it's Trek, and I'm glad we got to touch upon it tonight. I hope we can touch upon more new and diverse and exciting Trek, as well as touching upon older Trek, because it all needs to have attention paid to it. And everybody's tired. Everybody looks so tired.
Yeah.
And we don't usually do Saturday nights. I apologize for that. I was busy last night. We will go back to Fridays starting next week.
It was all good because it let me stay at work later because I I know it was King got about 4 o'clock or so, or no, maybe a little bit earlier in the day. And I was like, I think I wanted to work a little bit later tonight, but I was like, there's probably a meeting. And then I looked and then I was kind of surprised it was on Saturday. So that it worked out for me.
Yeah, well, next week is Friday,
Right.
and the details can be found on the events page.
All righty. Well, it's an interesting discussion.
I'm glad you were both here for it.
Can't wait to see how you edit this session.
So you watch them, I love it.
I hate the sound of my voice, so I don't watch them.
You actually have a very nice voice. Did you know that?
Thank you.
And you can blush like crazy all you want, but it's true. But I'm so glad you were both here to enjoy Remembrance, and feel free to suggest more new Trek, more old Trek. Anything you like. We'll figure it out.
All righty.
All right, so I won't keep you because you're all tired and you probably have things to do. And I release you and dismiss you into the universe with good thoughts, peace, and blessings.
All right.
Live long and prosper.
All right. Night to you too, Heather.
Good night.
And we got practice with this thing.
I can't even do it, so there you go. You got one up on me.
So,
Good night.
All right, bye.
I started on one side and then I finally figured out the other side, and that's how I.
Yeah, practice.
But no.
We'll talk this next Friday. Okay.
Take care.
All right. Take care.
Thank you all for coming this evening. Live long and prosper.